It's your girl, Britt Burt, and I have the honor and pleasure of speaking to the owners of The Network Studios. How are you guys feeling today?
Feeling great.
Feeling good.
Now, do you guys mind introducing yourself one at a time?
Oh, okay. I'll go first. I am Tyrone Dubois. I'm Tyrone Dubois.
Tyrone, your camera's right there. It's a
bad.
wide shot.
Single shot.
Single shot.
Okay, my bad. All right, let's start this over. All right, my bad. Hello, everybody. I'm Tyrone Dubois.
My name is Les James.
I'm Kenyon Aids. And we're missing one, Jalen Daniels.
We are.
Shout out to Jalen. JD6.
Yes, JD6. Check them out.
Now, one thing that makes you all's business particularly unique is that it's actually Black owned. But outside of being Black owned, there's not a lot of Black owned podcast studios in LA. What was the inspiration for you guys to, one, go into business, but really invest in the podcast market?
So myself and Les actually were clients of this studio for about 5 years. Maintained a decent relationship with the founder of the business, and he reached out to me in the fall of 2023 and expressed that he was going to sell the business. And I was like, well, if you're serious about selling, I'm serious about buying, and I know some individuals that would also be interested in it. And I think the main reason for that is because being clients, Les and I, we recognized that there was a ton of untapped potential. This business has been around for 12 years. So product market fit had been proven. It's produced over 12,000 episodes. But yet and still, so many people did not know that this place existed. So just off of business 101, the opportunity was huge. But then we knew that there were things that we could add to it that would help to take it to the next level. And so I think, having that vision and that sort of self-belief. And then I think the thing that makes it work with all of us is, one, great communication, no ego, wisdom, and then vision. And so I would say that where this all started, the genesis of this was just having a vision for what this place could be. It was a great foundation that was laid. It was already the #1 podcast studio without any marketing, right? But then having the vision to see what it could become, I think, is the thing that attracted all of us. And these gentlemen, along with Jalen, really sort of just trusted me to be like, hey, I think there's an opportunity here. And then they brought their individual talents, and, we are where we are right now.
Amazing. Now, another thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is location. You guys have the studio in Culver City versus in Los Angeles, And Culver City is a very up-and-coming market, just even as far as entertainment goes. Now, what would you say was the reason for you guys deciding to do the podcast, not necessarily in LA, more so in the Culver City area, would you say?
Well, when you're dealing with LA, we know how big LA can be. And we know how certain areas can be extremely crowded. And what we wanted to do was find a place that was centrally located. Now, right here, we're right next to the 405 freeway.
Right.
We are 10 minutes from LAX. I mean, we literally have people who fly in to do podcasts. So it was really centrally located to where you could be anywhere from the Valley to Orange County and get to our studio by taking one freeway. So that was a main reason.
Absolutely. Now, as you guys are often getting inquiries and that things of that nature, just as far as people that may want to use the podcast studio, how do you go about kind of picking and deciding what programming you guys are going to, roll out when it comes to just the different seasons and different markets? Because I know you guys can't take everybody. So what would you say is kind of like your formula when you go about picking who you feel like is a good fit for the podcast studio?
Well, I mean, we're taking everybody right now.
I don't think there's I don't think there's any saying, hey, nah, we're not going to produce that. We've had some pretty raunchy podcasts actually here in this room. But essentially, no, we're open to any and everybody. We want people's creative mindset we want to provide a creative space for them. Hence the reason why this room that we're sitting in now, sort of our classic look, what kind of the bare bones standard fitting to the brand of the network studios. But right across from here, we've turned that into sort of our set design room that can be customized to fit whatever podcast that person may want to generate at that time. And so even leading into us producing our own TNS original podcast, Socially Acceptable. Hence the reason why you see it done up the way it is and everything like that. Because we want people to be able to come in and know that they can create their own space. You know, they don't have to live within these walls. They can do it as whatever they are setting out to do.
And I think also to add on to that as well, because I think kind of what your question is getting at is, you know, we acquired the business, and as it was just a turnkey podcast studio. Right. Mm-hmm. But one of the elements that we have added is, as Tyrone mentioned, this is also a production house. So we are producing original content, TV, film, and podcasts. We have about 7 different projects currently under different stages of development, and that's across all mediums, TV, film, and pod. And I think in terms of, you know, the projects that we're looking to create, that we're looking to facilitate, I think it's things that's going to be uplifting, right? Definitely partial to Black content creators. We definitely want this space to be an incubator for Black content, and particularly that's going to be content that showcases us in a light that is different than how the world actually perceives us. You know, I think there's a place for the gander, there's a place for the salacious, right? But I think there's an opportunity to create not just wholesome content, but quality content that is going to edify and uplift and build our people up, but also any consumer. So I think when you talk about, you know, what it is that we're looking for from a production house standpoint, it's definitely going to be content or content creators, ideas that that are going to benefit the public, right. I think, you know, so.
Absolutely. Now, you guys mentioned that you've produced a lot of different podcasts since acquiring the business. Who are some people that you've had the chance to work with, whether it be guests that you've had, you know, a pleasure of working with that have come on different shows, or whether it be actual people that have had their own podcast shows here, if you don't mind sharing?
Shaka Khan.
Shaka Khan's been one of them.
I know that's a personal favorite
of yours. Of course.
That'll be number one on the list.
Of course.
For sure.
We also had, if you are familiar with the Spirit brand, Uncle Nearest.
Yes, Black owned.
So exactly, Black owned. And so she was a guest on one of our clients, which is Masters of Scale, a very popular business podcast, vodcast. Some of everybody has been on there. The founder, creator of TaskRabbit, Dry Bar was just here a couple of weeks ago. The founder of Dry Bar. That's definitely a favorite client of ours. Mob Wives, Renee Graziano has been in here. She's recording. She's starting a podcast called The Crisis Queen. She's been in here. Chan Berry, who is a noted documentarian. That's who was responsible for bringing in Shaka Khan, but the Whispers have been in here. Over the life or the history of this business, we've had some of Richard Roundtree. We've had Jerry West has been in here. Gabrielle Union, Maxine Waters. So literally every facet that you could think of, whether it's sports, political, entertainment, they've passed through these doors. Both since we've acquired the business, but even historically. And I think that's a testament to the great brand name, you know, and the quality of service that we have continued to maintain and actually have elevated. And again, it's why I'm fond of saying that we indeed are the #1 podcast studio in Los Angeles.
For sure. Now, what do you feel like having your podcast studio in the Culver City? How do you feel like it's improving the overall community? Because I do see that it has a very community feel, just as far as the type of people that are even here today for your grand opening. It gives a very community feel. So how would you say that this is uplifting the community?
Well, you know, I'll speak to this piece of it. Each of us individually kind of work in different markets, right? So Les is in real estate. Myself, I'm in IT. Kenyon's in all the different types of everything. Honestly, and so bringing our network of people here to this grand opening today, who are members of the community, whether it be in school, church, in retail, in all types of different facets, we are opening our doors to let them know that, hey, we are here. And they're coming here to show love and also spread the word, right. That, hey, like, we're here. Hey, I know this person that has an idea that's doing the podcast out their living room. They can come here. We're affordable. We'll help them to even, elevate their podcast to another level, So, and then also the biggest piece of it is that in our community, we're looking to reach out to the younger generation so that we can, help them to curate the newer ideas and different things of that nature, because they're essentially going to be the people who are watching our podcast, who are giving us the ideas for moving forward into that next piece of what podcast is becoming, actually. So, so I believe that's how we're tapping into community. But, I know that Kenyon is actually involved with a couple of community partners. If you want to speak to that.
Yeah, so we have currently, there are 2 nonprofit organizations that we are partnered with. Be Nerdy, which is a girls' nonprofit organization dealing with middle school and high school students. And then we have youthguidance.org, and they've got 2 programs. One that we're partnered with is BAM, Becoming a Man, which is actually nationwide, originated out of Chicago. And then we have LAUSD as a partnership, as well as a charter school here in Inglewood, Wilders. And with all of those different groups, we've put together a 9-week curriculum intensive that, as Tyrone alluded to, is teaching young people everything that they need to know about new media from soup to nuts. And for us, community is really important, and why you're feeling it even being here tonight is because we want that to be part of the brand identity of the network studios, that we are an anchor and a pillar in the community. And I think Tyrone made a great point when he said that, by virtue of sort of the different areas that we've worked in and being able to come together, it sort of naturally lends itself to having that community feel.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Now, as we mentioned community, we talked about socially acceptable being, you guys' in-house podcast. Now, the host, they are very big in their in their different perspective, as far as one being a podcast or YouTube influencer, and the other one actually being, a radio personality. Now, talk a little bit about how that kind of came about, the socially acceptable podcast, and what was it about the host that you guys knew that they were perfect for it?
I think
that came from Kenyon's.
That
came from Kenyon.
A lot of that. Not even a lot of that. All of that.
I was telling after watching the inaugural show, the first show that's actually running now, I told Preston, Kenyon did a hell of a job pairing you, Preston and Corey, up together to host that show, because they work so well with each other. So that was definitely from the mind of Kenyon.
And just before he even speaks, that he talked about vision before of what we have for the network studios. I mean, who would have thought that? I think about companies like Netflix and Hulu that we would have never thought we would be watching original shows from them. Right. Like, we actually are looking forward to watching the next season of whatever they originally produced. And that we could actually become that same thing. And that just speaks to the vision of Kenyon, because when he brought up the idea, I was like, okay, I think I see where you're going. But now to see it come to fruition in real time, it's so dope. It's so amazing. And it has so much potential to grow, and I think it's going to be huge. But it all came from the mind of this man right here.
So it's funny. So again, I think we all agree, right? And I think with any business, you got to figure out, are there other revenue streams that you can add to it, right? So with a studio where content is being created, it almost makes too much sense that, like, okay, well, we have everything that we need to be able to create extra content. I am someone who I identify as a creative, and I've got a ton of ideas. But I think with Socially Acceptable, the thought is we understand how much social media is impacting this generation, and has been a part of the culture certainly for at least the last 10 years, if not more. So the idea is, why not create content that allows individuals to see influencers and influential people in a very human light.
Got it.
And so with that, in terms of the host, it was a few things. Number one, I think when you think about specific podcasts that are regional in feel and in energy, there wasn't an LA podcast, right? So from a marketing standpoint, it's like, okay, that's the appeal. So then you go, okay, but we want hosts that are born and raised from LA. So we've got SB Preston Shorts, who's from Compton.
Right.
We've got Corey, Corey Asefa, who is from West LA. And so I think what makes both of them work is they are egoless, right? And that works when you're a host, because then your whole job is just to make your guests look really good. And I think, again, with the point of Socially Acceptable being showcasing influential people, influencers in a very human light, you've got two hosts that know how to do that because that's just who they are naturally. And I think it creates a huge opportunity for, again, the network studios to be seen as this powerhouse production company, because we're producing unique content. And so I'm excited about it and looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Now, what would you guys say is your overall goal as far as for acquiring the podcast, being a pillar in the community? What would you say is just your overall goal? Or on the contrary, when somebody walks into this podcast studio, what do you hope they walk away with?
I hope they walk away with the knowledge that they've walked into a business that is Black owned, because let's be real, there are some Black owned businesses that have negative connotations, right? I've said it a couple times today, I want when people walk in here, they see the utmost in professionalism. We are giving the community, we're giving everyone the opportunity to have a mic and express their feelings and their thoughts about anything they want to talk about. You can have a podcast about anything, right? So what you want to speak about, come in here. We have everything you need to do a professional vodcast or podcast. High quality, everything throughout. And I want that to be something that's in our community. What we're doing with the kids, you know, when I was younger, it was a big thing to have a computer in your school. Now everybody has a computer in their school. You know, my kids take computers home that their school gives them. So this is another step this is like that initial computer in school.
Right.
We are reaching out to schools to allow them we have a curriculum that allows them to learn A through Z about creating podcasts, from the who's the host, who's the guest, who's your target audience, what about post-production, what cameras should you use? So we're teaching them from a young age. So that's something that I'm really interested and really happy that we are reaching out and doing. And then finally, I don't want this just to be an LA-based business. I want something in Chicago. I want something in Atlanta, something in Houston. I want to franchise it out, because we can only reach a certain amount of kids and community here, right?
Yeah,
I want to be able to say we reach kids across the country.
Right.
And that's the only way we could do it, is if we expand and if we franchise out.
Absolutely.
Piggybacking everything he said, times two for sure. But my goal essentially is, at least from the forward facing, the technology piece, is I kind of want to be the next step ahead. Like, who would have thought 5 years ago that podcasting would be as big as it is now, right? So, like, you know, I want to stay ahead with the trends, to know and make ourselves available to be that space, to where when the next trend or whatever the case is created, we're here to service them in that aspect. You know, definitely want to expand, definitely want to grow, definitely want to, continue to move the community forward, and keep us. To be honest with you, I want us to stay affordable. Like I don't want to get too big to where our prices and stuff will change, because that's the biggest thing. That anyone walks into our space and they like, oh my God, like it just looks like it costs a lot of money. Like, no, like we're here, we're here to service, we're here, we want whatever it is that you have to talk about, that needs to get out there to the listeners. We want that to be here for you. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I want people to walk away with.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Would you like to add anything?
Well, no, my goal is just to make my partners proud.
Oh, oh gosh, the mushiness. No, I mean, we all work together to make this run like this.
Yeah.
We've had this since December, I guess officially, and through the transition period and stuff like that, to get to the point that we are now. It's taken all of us, and even adding on other people like Omari Robinson, who's head of pretty
Shout
much
out
post-production.
to old bro.
Yes, old bro with the fro, head of post-production, and we're adding more as we continue to grow.
Absolutely.
We need more people who are, coming on to support our clients. So, things are heading in a great direction, and we want to keep it going that way.
Absolutely.
So
now, can you share with us how people can get in contact with you guys, how people can see the different podcast shows that may, be available as far as on the digital side, whether it's on YouTube or social media, whether there's clips? Do you mind just sharing how people can find you guys?
Sure. So as we start to roll out our original content, we definitely have 2 shows that are definitely coming, Socially Acceptable, which you've already mentioned. Don't You Dare will be another one. You'll be able to find that on our YouTube channel. We're going to start there first. Eventually we will, and when I say eventually, I mean by the end of Q1 2025, we want to revamp our site and then pull that content and have it be on our site. And then, we can see there's opportunities there to make it even more exclusive. But then in terms of contacting us, absolutely, social media, our IGs at the Network Studios.
we're Googleable.
You can Google us, right?
The Network Studios.
We actually answer the phone.
Yes.
It's part of that professionalism that
Yes, absolutely.
Brother Les was talking about. We
Yes.
answer phones. We respond to emails because those things are important. So, find us online, and we're here to serve you.
It's your girl, Britt Burt, signing off. The Network Studios. Make sure you guys tap in. They will have a lot of amazing programming rolling out in between this year and next year. Stay tuned for more.